This is the Henryville Special. I'm tying it with the recipe and instructions from Eric Leiser's The Complete Book of Fly Tying. I'm tying it on a number 14 dry fly. He says that's the best size to tie this Caddis imitation. I'm using olive thread. It's a palmered fly, so I'm using grizzly hackle. And I'm going to strip off some of the fibers from the bottom of the hackle. That way I won't get a tail when I palmer it. Tie that in. Bring my thread up to the front. The body on it is supposed to be olive floss. I'm actually using some 200 UTC thread, which I have doubled. That way I will get a thicker body as I wrap, but it's still going to take a lot of wraps. And one of the things that Eric says about tying caddis flies is that the bodies are actually kind of a reverse taper, that they're fuller at the bend of the hook, and then they get thinner as you move towards the eye of the hook. So I'll see what I can do here. Now I'm going to do, not just see what I'm going to do, I'm going to do that. I'm wrapping 2 strands of this 200 UTC olive thread. Will kind of build up, and I may have to double coat or double layer, and then I'm leaving quite a bit of space out in front because I need room to tie in the wings and the front hackle. So I'll go ahead and take this back to the back and to build up the back a little bit. And that looks like a pretty good sized body. And then I'll go ahead and tie that off. Bring my thread back here to where I can tie it off. Some catch-in wraps over the top. And some underneath wraps. And then clip out that thread. Then I'm going to palmer this grizzly hackle, and I do have it tied in so that it is actually palmering and not reverse palmering, I think. Although I don't know, it is kind of reverse palmering, so I guess it doesn't really matter. It is a dry fly, so a reverse palmer with the barbules going forward is quite okay. And catch that hackle in. And palmering, you are doing a spiral wrap, and you just kind of decide how heavy you want that spiral. The heavier it is, the more it's probably going to float, or easy it's going to float. So we'll clip that out. Then we have an underwing, which is duck flank. Just a few fibers of that. And tied in just a little bit past the bend of the hook, I guess, on top of the hackle. Wrap that in and clip out the extra. Really have to work to make sure that this eye stays clean. And then for the wing, I'm using slate duck quills. And I'm just cutting off 2 pieces and back-to-backing them. They're from opposing feathers. All right, so I have 2 feathers that are opposing each other. lay them back to back, and this is a tent wing. So the caddis flies have their wings laying down over the back of the body. So the two of these together, try to split them at the bottom so that they make a tent over the top of the hackle. And try not to get them too long. Grab the two together, pinch them together, wrap, and then cinch down and wrap tight. And keep those laying down over the hackle. That's a characteristic of the caddis flies, is that they're called a downwing fly. So that wing is laying down, and then we'll clip out all of this front stuff and make room to tie in the front hackle. Eric says that the front hackle should be just a little bit bigger than the body hackle. So I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. I don't have any brown. I do have some furnace. Furnace is mostly brown. It's got that little black stripe in the middle, and I think that's going to be okay. Tie that in. And then I'm going to, it's a pretty long hackle feather. I can just grab it, I think, and wrap it in front of the wing. He says this should be just a little bit longer than the grizzly, and it is. And he says a nice heavy front. That's why we've left a lot of room up in front there. Help this caddis fly imitation float. And we'll catch off that stem. Pull back on everything so I can wrap up over it. Try to keep the eye clean. I've got some fibers over that I'm going to have to clean up. I'll go ahead and throw the whip finish on there now, and then I can hopefully just yank out that hackle feather. And we've got a few forward-leaning fibers. I don't think that really matters as long as my eye is clean. Put some head cement on that. I do use a diluted goop. I'll put a recipe for that in the description. Just dip a needle in my jar, get a drop or two. And then I do have a hackle feather that I am going to push down through the eye. That way I know the eye is clean and accessible for my tippet. This is then the Henryville Special, a tent wing palmered caddis fly.